Welcome to Banyan Books, Branches of Wisdom, celebrating the joy of bright ideas and heartful lifelong learning. Branches of Wisdom is a series of intimate conversations with the world's most influential authors and visionaries. We explore spirituality and the human mind, ecology and culture. Most episodes are recorded with a live audience. You can join our live events and submit questions to your favorite guests. Check out our upcoming schedule at banyan.com. Since 1970, Banyan Books has been a rich oasis at the crossroads of wisdom and philosophy, offering resources for humanity's evolving paths. We're a locally owned, independent bookstore in the heart of Vancouver's Kitsilano neighborhood. Visit us in person or shop online at banyan.com. Please subscribe, follow, like, and leave your reviews for the podcast. And now, enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Branches of Wisdom, the Banyan Books podcast. I'm your host, Ross McKeechee, and I'm very excited today to have two special guests with us, Valentina R. Onisor, MD, and Amit Goswami, PhD. Before we get to their formal introduction, Banyan Books acknowledges that although we have people joining us from all over the world for these live streaming events, the physical location of Banyan Books and Sound is on the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Introducing our first guest, Valentina R. Onisor, MD, is a practicing physician and a pioneer of quantum integrative medicine, specializing in family medicine. In her practice, she integrates alternative medicine with various systems of complementary medicine, including acupuncture, Ayurveda, naturopathy, homeopathy, and aromatherapy. Committed to consciousness awakening related sciences for over 2 decades, Valentina is also a yoga and meditation teacher. She has developed, together with Amit Goswami, the transformative practice of quantum yoga that integrates quantum science with traditional spiritual practices. She serves as a director of educational programs at the Center for Quantum Activism, USA, and is a faculty at the Department of Quantum Science at the University of Technology in Jaipur, India. She is also the co-founder of Quantum Activism Vishwalayam, India. Dr. Onisor's work has been featured in various interviews and radio shows. Along with Amit Goswami, Dr. Onisor is co-author of Quantum Spirituality, The Quantum Brain, The Re-Enchantment of the Reality You Live, and of the upcoming books, The Return of the Archetypes, The Awakening of Intelligence, and The Quantum Science of Love and Relationships. Our second guest, Amit Goswami, PhD, is a retired professor from the physics department of the University of Oregon. He's a renowned pioneer of the new paradigm of quantum science based on the primacy of consciousness. In 2009, Amit started a movement called quantum activism. He also established the Center for Quantum Activism, or CQA, with headquarters in the USA. In 2019, he and his collaborators established an educational wing of CQA called Quantum Activism Vishwalayam, meaning home of the world, acting as the Department of Quantum Science at the University of Technology in Jaipur, India, and he developed a master's and PhD program in quantum science of health, prosperity, and happiness, an international program of transformative education. Goswami has written several groundbreaking popular books based on research on quantum science and consciousness, including the bestsellers, The Quantum Doctor, and The Self-Aware Universe. You might also know him from being featured in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? And the documentaries The Dalai Lama Renaissance and The Quantum Activist. Banyan community, our two distinguished guests today, they're with us discussing their new book, Quantum Integrative Medicine. Excuse me. Now, the subtitle to this book is A New Paradigm for Health, Disease Prevention, and Healing. And it's a guide to integrative medicine based on quantum science, which combines studies in consciousness with alternative systems of healing, such as Ayurveda and Chinese traditional medicine, to produce a new science of health that sees disease as a health disorder. If you'd like to learn more about our distinguished guests today, you can visit their website, which is cqaedu.com. cqaedu.com. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a warm welcome for Valentina R. Onisor and Amit Goswami. Hello, welcome. So nice to have you with us.
Happy to be here.
I understand you're in Romania right now.
Yes, we are.
Getting away from some of the heat in India.
You can say that, yes.
Next time we come to Canada, it's even better, I think.
That would be wonderful. We'd love to have you here in person, yeah. Now, Dr. Goswami, in the book's preface, you mentioned that you've been working on health and healing since 1999, after being inspired by the Dalai Lama to apply the integrative ideas of quantum science to practical everyday problems in people's lives. I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit of that story about how the Dalai Lama inspired you and the journey in this work from 1999 to now. How did we get here with
yes, it's really a good story. It's actually documented in that documentary movie you mentioned, Dalai Lama Renaissance. What happened was that 30 of us scientists were going to meet the Dalai Lama, and we were going to have a discussion on new paradigms that were being developed. My book, Self-Aware Universe, Quantum Model, was already out, and there were other models of consciousness. We're going to discuss that with the Buddhist tradition, Tibetan Buddhist tradition that Dalai Lama represents. And Dalai Lama has a very keen interest in what is going on in science paradigms. We knew that. We all knew that. There were also a big audience, 90-some people who were to sit in an outer circle and listen to our debate or whatever transpires. What happened, though, is that the organizers made a very interesting mistake, or if you call it a mistake, that they divided up into several groups before the Dalai Lama would meet us and asked us to discuss and submit questions. And organizers would then present to Dalai Lama. None of us liked that. So what happened was the big debate broke out between me and Federer and Wolf, among other things, and everybody joined in the discord. And we are in a very, very fighting modality in which Dalai Lama entered us, he entered the scene, and when the organizers complained that the scientists are all fighting about their models, and then Dalai Lama just said, "Oh, scientists will be scientists," and started laughing. I still absolutely incredulous how that laughter completely fizzed away the discourse that we had, and we started saying loving things again to each other. And in the afternoon session, Dalai Lama said, really, it's important to apply the paradigms, new paradigms to society. If paradigms succeed in social application, then that would be the best judge of which paradigm to accept to go forward. So I took it to heart. I was very impressed, very moved by his power, his presence, his ideas. So ever since, I have been working on applying the ideas to social problems and succeeded. Now Valentina with me, we really have done a wonderful job on medicine, which I started earlier, 2004, the publication date of Quantum Doctor. But this book really is the culmination of both of us, is many years of research.
Wonderful. So as you said, it builds on what you wrote in Quantum Doctor. Now, Dr. Onisor, I'm curious, you're trained both as an allopathic doctor as well as in many systems of alternative medicine. Can you just fill our audience in a little bit about your journey with the healing sciences and how that's led you to where you are today?
So I grew up in a family of doctors and priests, so it was from the beginning something very interesting that led me to ask myself these fundamental questions like, why are we here? And then again, since I was early age, I discovered that I had all kind of healing capacity in my hands, and my father was so amazed. He had a few specialties in allopathy medicine, and one of them was preventive medicine, which again was very important for me because actually what we discuss in this book and what we mean a lot when we say health, we refer mainly to preventive medicine, actually. Yeah, and this includes a certain type of awareness, of course. And then I started my journey, especially, I saw, okay, this life, I'm a woman, what will I do? I cannot be a priest and I'm not going to be a nun because I have to be in the world. So I had this kind of very clear feeling. And I said, okay, then I'll be a doctor, no problem. And my father was, are you sure? I said, yes. And then he also started to guide me in his own way. But then the things started to change a lot when I started to practice yoga when I was 17. Before that, I was very much into the Christian tradition. I was I was extremely curious. And then as, again, I finished high school and I started the medical studies. In parallel, I also started the Ayurvedic practices and, and also the acupuncture ones when I finished medicine, that was. And then, so I was really, really eager to learn about various fields, about what is really health. Yeah. And then as I was doing in parallel all this, and together with yoga and meditation and ancient systems, really, I was really an honest and curious person about all this. So I also noticed that practitioners of alternative medicine are equally scornful of the allopathic practice as the allopathic practitioners were on the alternative medicine. There was so much dichotomy there, who's better than the other. And then there was a serious question there. How do we go from these very deep divisions among the practitioners of the two camps to something which has to be like an integral medicine that both camps will accept? Yeah. So, and again, to me, the answer was also there because I grew up already with that in the spiritual system. It just came for these lives. And I kind of had this feeling that we have to go to the philosophical roots of all the medicine practices and to discover something which would be like a unifying bridge building philosophy, And again, so as I was practicing allopathic system and family medicine and all these other systems, yeah, and then in the last 7 years since I met Amit, the things really clicked, and since the beginning when we met, we were really researching the development of this integrative medicine based on quantum science, which made all the sense to me. Because again, if you don't have a proper theory and the common sense and depth to see that, if you want, conventional medicine is largely forced to stay disease centered, so it's only disease. It's so many names for disease and just one name for healing, So again, and when you have a disease, you do clinical studies, you develop drugs, surgery, too many surgeries, too many drugs, obviously, which are creating other diseases, right? So, and again, the allopathic physician will treat you, will alleviate your symptoms, will not go to the cause, obviously, So it's a limited prevention guidance can be given on the basis of improved diagnostic procedures, to be sure, But this guidance is only covering the physical symptoms and the physical body, And then now, again, we can go deeper to see how quantum science is really giving so much proof about the fact that we are not just the physical body, And then there's a totally new approach to how we deal with health and healing. And actually, it's a positive approach. It's an optimistic approach, based on the most crucial discovery that has come from quantum science, which says that consciousness is the ground of all being, of all our experiences. And all science actually has to be based on the primacy of consciousness. And then you discover why is this important? Because again, modern allopathic medicine is of course mechanical, it's totally objective, right? And even if you think of holistic extension of modern medicine, which you find nowadays, people still try to maintain objectivity, and still this can be a myopic view, because you count, your doctor separately counts too, in matters of health and healing. And then again, so we go into so many amazing ideas in this book that it's going to be like an encyclopedia, really, from so many perspectives.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a wonderful book, and you mentioned here the tendency to push away the viewpoint. Allopathic doctors will reject certain aspects of quote unquote alternative medicine and vice versa. And one of the things that I was really interested in, maybe I'll ask you, Dr. Goswami, is you talk about the metaphysical shortcomings of alternative healing practices. I'll just share a quote from chapter 1. You said, I, Amit, realized very soon after I started research that alternative healing practices remain a mystery and therefore controversial to most people of conventional thinking because their proponents suffer from 5 metaphysical shortcomings. I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about those shortcomings. And there's one in particular that I was very interested in, which was the role of creativity, or as you call it, vital creativity.
Yeah, the shortcomings can be very briefly stated, but it's really there in the practices, especially in the traditional Chinese medicine. The idea is there of creativity. The whole idea, I'm sure you know about yin and yang. Yin is potentialities from which creativity comes, and yang is what is manifest. So certainly Chinese medicine does not really talk about only the conditioned aspects, which is yang, but having yin-yang balance means that we put a modicum of creativity in the maintenance of health. It's not entirely excluded. But what is excluded in this process is what we call fundamental creativity. The creativity is included, but only to deal with situations. In this way, we find elaborate ideas of how to deal with seasonal change in both Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine. But we don't find any discussion of, for example, what happens when somebody's spouse dies. It produces grieving, and grieving produces huge health problems, starting with immune system malfunction. But why that occurs, in fact, the immune system, of course, that was, we are talking about systems that were developed thousands of years ago. So anatomy was not so well known as it is today. But they missed the immune system, basically. So Ayurveda has a concept called the Pitta dosha. They apply it only to the stomach area organs, but not to the heart area organs, which includes the immune system. So these are the kind of things. Part of it is due to our tendency of what you do, you tend to glamorize that much more than other systems. So we find Ayurveda thinks itself, Ayurveda basically is a vital energy medicine. Vital energy is energy associated with our feelings, that we feel, the experience of feeling. We feel energy. And this energy is connected with what can be called roughly vital force, the vital fields that govern how the organs become formed, how the cells become differentiated in each organ from each other organs. So this vital energy, they think, is the basis of everything. Mind-body medicine, no, mind has no role. It's all vital energy. Similarly, same thing with Chinese medicine, same thing with homeopathy. It's a little bit towards generalizing it too far outside of its domain. So that's one problem. Did not recognize, none of these systems really had a universal system where everything is treated simultaneously, which is, of course, the idea of holistic medicine. But holistic medicine, of course, is not holistic from the get-go because they take the materialist prejudice. Everything is matter. We, in quantum science, succeeded in integrating medicine and developed a theory of medicine only because we understood that actually the process is, in modern computer language, very simple. If there is material part, which is hardware, but we need software to run hardware. Everybody knows that. And body is, in some ways, analogous to a computer. But except the only difference is that although the material body, the physical body is, hardware part is governed by material laws, but the software is not. The physiology that the organs run by, that physiology is not controlled by the genes. That discovery has been an experimental discovery, that the control of the genes that contributes to cell differentiation is epigenetic, outside of the genes. So where is it? If you think about it, it also has non-locality, so that made us have this enormous realization that really non-physical aspects have to come into the picture. And these non-physical bodies have to be acknowledged. Now, modern Ayurvedic physicians are so funny. You know, I read book after book after book. I never could find even an admission that prana, the Sanskrit name for vital energy, or chi, the Chinese name for vital energy, are really coming from non-physical fields. They were just playing coy, not to aggravate the allopathic establishment. But of course, what for? The allopathic establishment is not going to please with whatever alternative medicine position, whatever position they take. So, the first thing I did in Quantum Doctor was already to call in the fact that, look, we have non-physical software, these epigenetic fields are non-physical, let's just call a spade a spade. You cannot avoid that. And thankfully, Rupert Sheldrake, a biologist, already did introduce such a non-physical field for vital energy, morphogenetic field, he called it. So that worked out. But in mind-body medicine, mind, there was the mental block. Is mind independent of the brain? Yes, it has to be. Otherwise, where would the processing of meaning come from? Everybody now knows, thanks to this newest development of AI, ChatGPT and all that, that yes, these computer programs, whatever they do, they cannot understand. They don't have any sense of meaning. They just process information. So we are capable of meaning processing. That must mean that we are also more than the brain. We have a mind. So this is the basic point of integration, because we take all this mind, vital body, and put everything in consciousness. Consciousness is the ground of being in which all these experiences come from. So therefore, if we treat all the parts of the software, and whenever a disease occurs, we treat all the causes of wrongness, namely go through all the software, and wherever wrongness is, we have to heal it. This is the idea. And since we now know that wrongness is wrongness of software, we can also develop how to maintain the software. This maintenance of software is what Valentina envisioned as preventive medicine. This is really our most important aspect of our book. Because we have a theory of the software, we have actually a completely believable system that people can practice and prevent having disease in the first place.
Can I add something?
Please, yes.
About this. So again, as Amit mentioned, that our physiology, the organ functions, again, they are not genetic in origin, and again, they are epigenetic, and the origin is outside of the gene. And so the source is non-local, non-material. And why this is important, this is something very interesting. So because that human physiology is not a permanent fixture, but is changeable via creativity, as you mentioned, in your question, because you're interested in creativity, of course, So actually the most important theoretical development and even practical also of this preventive integration of medicine is the fact that it's our contention that an elevated physiology for organs, especially in the navel and the heart areas, it has been again universally available for millennia for humanity. Yeah. And again, there are so many research already coming with, again, if you work on the navel area, you may again stay away from diabetes, for example, or the heart. The role of the heart is so much researched. For example, HeartMath Institute, and again, we have really a very good theory on healing, for example, cancer related again to the heart. Oh, just by the way, I just read these last days and I realized that the only organ in the body which cannot get cancer is the heart. So that's a lot to research there. And I saw that you have behind you the chakras. So of course, when you want to go into a discussion about creativity, the importance of the chakra and explanation of what the chakras are and how to start experiencing them, it's very important. Yeah. So
okay.
is that we can really change, and that's the important thing. We are not robots, as modern medicine would say.
It seems very important for the audience to understand what you call the 5 bodies of consciousness. I know in the yogic model they call it the panchakosha. Can you explain to us the 5 bodies of consciousness and how they interact and inform each other?
Yeah, this is a very, very important question. So, yes. So the first is the physical body. That's the hardware. I will continue the computer analogy because my assumption is that all our listeners, viewers are computer experts, as almost everybody today is. So physical body is just the hardware. All the organs are the components of the hardware. Now, hardware, physical body cannot operate by itself. That we know from our experience of the computer. Software is needed. The immediate software comes about because of this organ physiology. This is the thing. Every organ comes with some functions. The functions, it is assumed in materialist science, are also generated by the hardware, by the genes. Not true. The organs are part of morphogenesis, namely genesis of the organs, the form and function of the organs. And that is definitely not due to the genes, epigenesis, experimentally verified. So what does it? Sheldrake first had the idea. I must mention him because he did have a very good idea, really, that the fields that does the cell differentiation. Remember that all cells have the same DNA, same genes, but they get differentiated because different organs perform different functions. Not all the genes are activated in a given organ. So, what genes are activated? That's the function of the software. But that software cannot be local because it's not independent of other organs. Your question is very good. The organs indeed are codependent in the developmental period, like how our neck depends on the whole vertebral structure and so forth. So this is the idea of non-locality. The organs must communicate at once and keep synchrony with each other in the developmental period. And therefore, it's not local signals can make that communication because local signals take a little time to communicate. Instant communication is what we call in quantum physics non-locality, communication without signals. That must be taking place here. So Sheldrake suggested that we have non-physical fields, non-local, capable of non-locality, and that's what comes into operation. That's what differentiates the cell. That's what produces the software or physiology of the organs. Why is this so important? Now, this is the vital. This is what is giving organs the vital software, the physical hardware, Every organ comes with its own physiology, therefore a vital software morphogenetic field. Why is this very important? Because look, we are supposed to be sensing the physical. We are told that constantly. But of course, how do we sense? We have to make meaning out of what we are sensing, at least likes and dislikes. We like something, we dislike something. That's a feeling, that is not sensing. So this is the importance of, as important as can be. The software is extremely important. Without the software, we could not even feel or sense even. Sensing requires feeling. So the dilemma is solved by saying that every hardware comes with the vital software in the list. For the brain, however, there is an additional software. That's a mental software, because brain is capable of giving even more detailed meaning than just like or dislike. This time, we really can get detailed, elaborate meaning of experiences. So that elaborate meaning is provided by what we call the field of the mind. And then finally, if mind is not enough, we already have mentioned, Valentina already has mentioned that physiology can change. We also know that mind is creative. It is capable of creativity, not only to deal with situations, but to creativity of fundamental extent of changing the context of our experience. Healing, if you think about it, requires not only creativity when there's a new situation, like change in weather or chronic disease, new situation. But that's not all of it. Chronic disease, we found, like cancer, heart disease, they are all caused by some wrongness that occurred in the way the mind gives meaning to our stressors, stressful experiences of feeling, emotions. The context is set by the mental meaning, and that context has to change. The context that is set, for example, big example or big discovery really is the self at the heart chakra. That's where Valentina and I really made a quantum leap, which you talked about in this book in details. This what is actually taking place. A person is ordinarily defensive. That's the person's feeling at the heart chakra. This is the center of one of the centers of feeling according to yoga psychology. So what is happening? We ordinarily see another person, we feel defensive. We all know this. And yet, when we see that special person, we fall in love. How does that happen? Now, in Quantum Doctor, I had a glimpse at it. I suggested, okay, so if the immune system is suspended momentarily, then the defensiveness gives way to vulnerability, and maybe that's what all that is needed for romantic love. But inside, I knew that this cannot be a complete answer. Okay, get part of the answer. So if you are not using love, then the immune system will malfunction. I suggested all that. Immune system malfunction can lead to heart disease and cancer. I had all that discussion. What we are missing, and this is where Valentina and I cooperated, realizing when some new data came about from HeartMath Institute, where heart is found to be coherent for people in love, people who are loving people. This was all that we needed, along with the information that how was the measurement possible? Because heart has a little brain in it, a huge bundle of nerves. Later, we found that there is such a brain also in the navel chakra. And both chakras were very important in our writing the book. So the whole story of how cancer happens, how heart disease happens because of the immune system malfunction, how the immune system malfunctions, the whole story, complete story is this. Yes, for special people, immune system becomes momentarily dormant. It suspends itself. So we become vulnerable. We accept the vulnerability. And then if we intend, the intention of loving is important. If we have that intention, then we actually make a quantum leap, literally. The heart makes a quantum leap. How do we know? The new function of loving appears in the heart, which before loving was just a blood pump, nothing to do with love. Now, imagine this. I mean, how wonderful news this is. A quantum leaping of an organ because somebody wants to love another person with whom we accept vulnerability. It's like, the only analogy that we have in the animal kingdom is the caterpillar changing into a butterfly. The same genes, all of a sudden, the genes that are activated changes from the caterpillar genes into intermediate state and then to butterfly genes. The same thing is happening. Some new genes are being activated. The old function is still there. It is still pumping blood, but a new function, namely capacity to love, just like that has been created for the heart. So the question is, will the physiology improve as a result? Is this higher physiology also is affecting the immune system? And how is it affecting other organs? This is the question. And that question too is easily answered because yes, we say that love should improve the health of the immune system. If we love, then that can eliminate the necessity of having any worry about cancer or heart disease. Love is all we need because love keeps the immune system healthy. Why is love needed? The brain has a self, and for maintenance of the self, which is a lot of energy, we need the brain to rest every night. Similarly, immune system, heart chakra has a self as well, loving self. And to keep it healthy, you need the immune system to be at rest periodically. Momentarily, every time we love, immune system is suspended, and that gives, if we have somebody constantly in love in our vicinity, namely a functional romantic relationship in our life, then we should be more healthy. Just look around you. Yes, married people live longer. Married people have less instances of cancer. Even when people have COVID, we verified. Women who are more loving because their heart is strong than men, they had twice less incident of death by COVID. So in all respects, these are superbly important new breakthroughs that we are finding.
No, let me add something and clarify. I can?
Please do. I'll just quickly let our live audience know we're going to take some of your questions in a few minutes. So go ahead and type those in on the chat on YouTube.
Suspension, of the immune system, to be clear, it doesn't mean that the person will not have any more immunity. On the contrary, the immunity will increase. Just that function that you're not fighting all the time, you're not defending, that function is suspended because again you're opening your, so that's why that in Amit's terms, it's suspension of the immune system function, of that function of defending. So you're not defending, and that's why the term suspension of the immune system in that way. In the same way, for example, if you fast, fasting, intermittent fasting, or preferably minimum 24-hour fasting, water fasting is doing for the navel chakra, So again, it's so much research, and there are clinics. I know of a clinic in Russia even, which they are working on healing, even only just through fasting, gradually, but they are taking people with various serious diseases, and for everything actually, and it's a good environment, so it's in nature. They do tai chi, they do yoga, so they really work on the vitality. But they eat, and they meet and they dance together. They eat what they eat. They eat the soup, which is water. So it's something again interesting, because otherwise we keep eating. We eat all the time and we watch movies. So it's all this consumerism in place. But again, if we give it rest, even to the digestive system, miracles can happen. So again, eventually, when we just have to learn how we function and be amazed, because again, quantum science has already very clear this theory and practical theory that we don't have just one body. We have really 5 bodies: physical, vital, mental, supramental, or soul, as we call it, and spiritual, made of Ananda, the expanded consciousness of quantum self, or unity consciousness, how we call. So we really have all these bodies, we really have all these chakras, and we are sitting on a mind of diamonds, as I like to call it. It's true, And again, if you take in consideration this fact, that, then disease, if you want, from the quantum point of view, is at least in part due to a lack of synchrony between different bodies. And healing would consist in restoring that synchrony. And that's when creativity, again, the word that you mentioned, comes in place. So again, in other words, any disease is a lack of wholes of the 5 bodies, which should act as a whole. And healing would be restoring of that wholeness. You see, there are so many events when people just went to, I don't know, a special place somewhere, and they receive what's called the divine grace, and then suddenly, they experience something, an overwhelming experience, at some point, and then they woke up the next day healed, or they went to a workshop and they triggered somehow this capacity to heal that exists in each of us. But again, the essence of, again, the idea is that yes, there is divine grace, yes, and we have to be open for that, with the state of purity of the heart. But also we can learn about these things and learn to engage into creativity, really. And then you will see that the essence of there's a new paradigm of healing that is presented in this book. So it's that, again, we need to look upon the physical body, if you want, as the material expression of the spirit, even, and then the health problems would be just messages sent through the physical body, if you want, in order to become aware of also of the level where we are on the path of evolution. For example, one of my favorite tools is healing. It's forgiveness, working through forgiveness. And you would be surprised. I had many people with cancer, with all kind of hyperactivity, chronic fatigue, hypertension, you call it. So there are so many diseases which appear due to lack of forgiveness, and you can truly engage in this process, which is a very deep process. Becoming a butterfly is never going to be easy, Usually it's a painful process, because we are really just trapped into so much ignorance, and we are creating the sufferance that we experience. And many times, due to a lack of mental hygiene, we keep staying, and we generate pain for ourselves, for the others, for the entire planet eventually. So if you want to help, heal yourself and wake up, to all this potential that is there. But we need to start from a point, at least to see where we are, and then again, use mental hygiene, so that in a journal, I'm recommending everybody to have a journal. And from there, again, you can engage into so many things, and the creativity can be, again, situational when it's something not so major, or fundamental when you really, really have to change. Because many times we just, like, when we have a disease, let's say a cold, what do you want to do? You just want to take a pill. You don't want to make much effort. So we are a bit lazy. We have to notice that. And we have a lot of inertia. So on the path of creativity, on the path of healing, or on the path of transformation, which for me, they go together, we have to see also the obstacles that we have. Usually we created these obstacles, we should not blame so much. Indeed, the society has its role, but still we should kind of take back what is ours, and which is ours, for example, is the capacity to choose. We don't use so much this the choice that we should have. Okay, so, and then again, the 5 bodies, they give various reflections, if you want. It's a reflection of our koshas, how we call them in Sanskrit, these layers of our being, from the most gross, primitive, to the most refined. We need to kind of become aware what is reflecting where, and many times we are just identifying with these reflections. And so of course we need to learn meditation, and so many other things. And the reality of the bodies, reality of the chakras is there, and go gradually to see what is the cause, what is the message of that disease, of that sufferance that is there. There's a message of transformation there. That's how I see it.
Thank you both so much. We have some nice questions coming in from the audience. Is it okay if we tend to some of those? Okay, so there's two questions that are quite similar. One is from Melanie, and the other is from 5Cat. And basically, the question is around daily foundational practices that people can integrate into their lives based on your research. So Melanie asked, what are 1 to 3 simple top tips to start to practice?
Okay, so the very first thing, of course, is to be aware that we have vital energies of feelings in the body. The present prejudice, materialism, scientific materialism, is the brain does everything, including control of the body organs. But actually, our consciousness is much more than just in the brain. The big discovery that we discuss in quantum integrative medicine is that we also have a self in the heart and at the navel chakra. And so the brain self, it is very important for most people. But as people start taking quantum leaps that change physiology at the heart chakra and physiology at the navel chakra, they develop acquaintance with these other two selves. And this is the key to achieving wholeness, which is a disease, not a disease-prone personality anymore. You would have really what we call a personality of well-being, positive health. So this is the thing. The get acquainted with the body, feelings in the body. There are positive emotions in the body. Love, self-esteem in the navel, love in the heart. Discover those things. And then, of course, you will discover that there is also vital energy in the brain. Brain doesn't only think, there is also feeling like curiosity, clarity. Those are specifically to the brain. So get acquainted with all these feelings, get acquainted with the chakras. So meditate on the chakras. This is the first thing you should do for maintenance of health. Second thing, meditation, that is an old thing. Herbert Benson started this idea, that stands. Meditation is extremely important for healing the mind. Meditation slows organs down, so it is also helpful for organs to remain healthy, because fast lifestyle is just no good, too much stressor. Okay, and then we get into creativity. Creativity is extremely important for taking care of the supramental, and so there must be some practices and vital creativity. This is something that we are very grateful for both the Indian tradition of pranayama and Chinese tradition of qigong. But really, so long as practices are concerted, Valentina, who should talk about, who really was instrumental in developing all these details of quantum yoga. Valentina, will you speak, please?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot. So I don't know how much time we have, but you can actually check my Instagram if you want, Valentina Onisor, and you'll see I have quite some recordings there. But what you can start, everybody can start and should start, is to, it may seem very easy, and many times our minds, the monkey minds, don't like easy things, So as a beginning thing for everybody, for example, in the morning, the first thing in the morning and the very last thing in the evening, to simply sit, with the back straight, relax your belly, it's very important, relax your shoulder, especially women, you have to pay attention, because we really don't have developed the navel area like men do, So that's very important, really. It's a lot of theory about that. You will read in the book why, yeah? And many times we have this area tensed, and that's what it makes us prone to various diseases like fibromas or all these uterine problems, and so on, not to mention ulcers, yeah? But because the energy doesn't have the chance to collapse in this first brain, which is in the belly area. This is a very important thing. So sit with your back straight and simply, keep your eyes closed and witness the breathing. Simply maintain your attention on the air coming in through your nostrils into the lungs, and also engage the abdomen in your breathing. Yeah, maintain your attention simply in the belly area and on the air coming in and out, and do this at least for 5 to 10 minutes the very first thing in the morning before jumping on your phone. That's very important. Don't sleep with your phone next to you, if possible, because it's this just destroy and ruin all your creativity if you just jump on your phone. Yeah. And then the very last thing in the evening, before, I don't know, just before sleeping, give yourself some time to be with yourself. Because again, you are born alone in this life, you will die alone in this life. Make it count, So we need to get to improve the quality of our life. So it may be very simple for the mind. But again, while you do this and see what's happening next in the day, you can also do this very simple action of being attentive to the breathing, witnessing the breathing. Also, when you have nothing to do, instead of just scrolling the phone, or doing, just looking left and right and trying to get something superficial, do this, just get in touch with yourself. What will help also in this process, because again, we need to get to this kind of process. If you will study more about creativity, you will see that there's a stage which is very important, which is called incubation. Incubation is like birds sitting on the egg. Yeah, incubation is very much underrated nowadays in healing, even if it's amazing important. So we don't give it importance to the process of really being relaxed, and this relaxation, which is also expanding you. And for that, you can simply take walks in nature, if possible. I don't know, whatever minutes you can have in the day, but try to do it every day, because then you will learn walking by a river, walking through a park, paying attention to nature. Nature again has that vital energy, which is really a source for us, because otherwise also the food nowadays doesn't have so much vitality. You may learn about aromatherapy and about other herbs and how to use them. Of course, most important is to really develop what Amit said, the feelings, the contact with, getting in touch with the feelings in the body, because the biggest problem nowadays probably is the hyperactivity. Yeah. Nowadays, it's so much, again, we give to our kids a tablet. We shouldn't do that so much, So I know everybody's busy, but if you do that, you're destroying the child's brain, yeah? So, for example, this is a simple, again, as I said, witness your breathing, take some walks in nature, and then, swimming, of course, even doing this cold ice plunge, cold water plunges if you want. And fasting, for example, anybody can do intermittent fasting, yeah, which again, there's so much study about that. Even Amit is doing, so there's this at least 16 hours rule, when you only drink water or special, herbal teas, if you know what is good for you. So this would be something to start with. And again, make a journal. It's essential. Make a journal where you're not criticizing yourself, but just you have to see where you are, see which are the blockages there. It's very important to see the external blockages, which can be related to your relations, or the internal blockages. And then again, the more you become aware, you will see we just are aware of the tip of the iceberg. So the more we are aware of what's happening, the more we can act. And then, so once you practice these things, you will start the morning and the evening, the night actually, because night is also another state of consciousness. So in the night, all the dreams that happen, they are very important. Have a journal where you write these dreams, and then in the morning, you may get some messages, from your deep layers of your being. Okay, so then again, when you put yourself in this state and you start becoming aware of what you really want, then you can act and you can set what's called an intent. But you have to set this intent in a state of expansion. So you have to be a little bit inspired. So start with something, a meditation of manifesting love and compassion for the entire world and for yourself as well, for example. And then you will set the intent towards healing, for example. And there are some stages which, if you want, we can teach you how to do that. But again, the key is that you have to start with something to inspire you, yeah? And then you set the intent for yourself, towards, if you want healing, or if you want to awaken your heart, or anything that you really want, and you don't change that. You stay with that intent for a number of days or for years or whatever is there, because there will be so many levels of healing. And the more you heal, the more you will see things integrate. And really, we are transforming ourselves, and then also the external factors will transform, or you will have the power to just leave an abusive relation or whatever is really there to hurt you. So this would be the beginning. Then, of course, my favorite is Hatha Yoga practices. Hatha Yoga practices, which, we use old, ancient time wisdom, from various traditions, actually. But Hatha Yoga is my favorite, working with, again, using asanas as tools, and you need to know how they work. And also, as Amit mentioned, pranayama and meditations. But eventually, you'll have to develop all the structures in your being and make it a way of living, not just when you're doing the practices. Kind of, you have to take the practice in your life, in your relations, and so on. So that's the beginning. And by the way, if you want to read more, there's also another book. So in this book also we have some practices, but there's another book which we wrote together. It's called Quantum Spirituality, and that has more of these practices.
Wonderful, thank you. You both of you have mentioned the importance of not just our thinking center, but our feeling centers in the heart and in the navel center. And I know, like, heart is related to love. I wonder if we can talk a little bit more about the sense of self-worth in the navel center and the importance of that.
And we don't mention it as much as the heart, only because it is a little bit secondary to the heart. Heart has the immune system, and the immune system malfunction is really, really, really very important. Maintaining, prevent that malfunction is very important for maintaining health. But the stomach, that chakra, not only has stomach, liver, gallbladder, these digestive organs, it also has pancreas, which is a mysterious organ to some extent. Pancreas controls this insulin production, which of course controls the blood sugar level. So it is very important. When it goes awry, then people suffer from diabetes, very severe disease. Some of it is congenital type 1 diabetes, but many more people suffer from type 2 diabetes, which develops later. It's a lifestyle problem. And there, we have to pay attention to the navel chakra. Our suggestion is that just as you make a quantum leap to love in the heart chakra, similarly, pancreas becomes quantum if we take a quantum leap of self-esteem. Ordinarily, people's experience of the navel chakra is me-centeredness. Many people have a strong navel chakra, and they actually feel that strength sometimes as giving them some strength in making decisions, but they use it for themselves. Very me-centered, selfish, self-centered way, almost like narcissism. When the pancreas makes a quantum leap, then that energy changes into self-esteem, which then enables them into engaging with, taking the risk of other love. So especially women who have strong heart suffer from weak navel due to socio-cultural conditioning in the early childhood. And our prescription, both Valentina and I, strongly, whenever we deal with women suffering from, it could be anxiety neurosis, but also it could be type 2 diabetes. And our common suggestion is that pay attention to the navel, to vital creativity, teaching or movement, pranayama, to strengthen the navel, do all the forgiveness, etc. There, huge practices of forgiveness is necessary to get that strength in the navel back. You want to add something, Valentina?
Yeah, because for example, you cannot even love, if you don't have that self state of self-respect and self-worth. We are not loving. We are just becoming addicted, attached, because we need the other one to give us the validation. Even if he's abusing with us, for example, we just stay in a relation because we don't have our own validation, as women especially. Also men can have that, of course, So it's really essential to get that. It's in karate, it's called hara. And also there are many asanas. There are hospitals in India, I know of hospitals which are really using asanas because they know the importance of this area. Even in the childhood, we might have fallen and displaced a little bit, this area. So there are, I don't know, tons of nadis, meridians, which are passing through this area. It's really, really essential. That's why this very easy practice of abdominal breathing can help. Then there are many others, really, and pranayamas, but also exercises. But just really as a woman, you will see so many women, they have this wood abdomen. Even just massaging the abdomen, you can rub your palms and simply really massage the abdomen clockwise and then counterclockwise on empty stomach, and when you don't have period as a woman. So even this, with maintaining your attention there, will help a lot to unblock that area first of all, and then also energize it. So it's so interesting how this reflects in all our structure. Even this, like without this area, this is the first place where we can speak about the collapse of the inferior energies. So the lower chakras. The lower chakras, again, all the chakras are very important, and it's really important to purify them and have them well functioning. But the first place where these energies have the chance to collapse and give a brain, there's really a brain in the abdominal area. It is essential, to develop it. And then again, to develop it in relation with the heart. This will be the beginning of the creative vitality, vital creativity. And then we speak about this other brain, and probably here also there's a lot of research. So this will be the main things to start with. And then, of course, you take it in your relationship. And again, fasting. Don't forget about fasting, intermittent fasting, having a little bit of, a little bit of control, because this chakra, it's also referring not just to self-esteem, but also to willpower, So you need willpower, you need courage. It's the chakra of courage. You need to be rooted, with Muladhara chakra and Manipura chakra if you want. So without the courage, you cannot transform, you cannot awaken your heart, you cannot heal. You need a lot of courage to step into all kind of problems that may be there, and just face them. And then when you have that courage, it's enough to just stay with that a little bit in this present moment, and then give it a chance to integrate, because if not, life is passing very quickly.
I want to just take the opportunity to thank you both so much for giving your time to us, and for all of the wonderful work that you have done and continue to do. For our audience, we've been speaking to Dr. Valentina Onisor and Amit Goswami, PhD, about their newest book, Quantum Integrative Medicine, a New Paradigm for Health, Disease Prevention, and Healing. And of course, you have some other books coming out soon as well. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about what's to come?
Well, the first book that should be coming out is Return of the Archetypes. The archetypes, we didn't talk very much about any other archetype than wholeness and love. But other archetypes like truth is extremely important in our society. Everybody can see that. We have become a liar society, basically. Everybody lies, not just the politicians. And that got to go. It's not good for health either. Justice is another one. Racial tensions, tension between sexes, all of this are cases of that archetype that has to be alive again in our society, come in a major way. All these crises are suggesting the importance of these archetypes, not just love and goodness, but also truth, justice, even abundance and power. They have to be mixed up with love and goodness and truth, because otherwise they're not effective. They serve the self, but does not serve the society. So this archetype book is really, really, we are very proud of it to research the idea and present a very definitive book that puts together a whole bunch of ancient traditions like tarot and astrology, as well as what we can do with our intuitions and Carl Jung's idea of collective unconscious and all that. And then, Valentina, why don't you carry on with our...
And the next one should be The Awakening of Intelligence. So we have all these books ready. We already published 5 in the last, it's kind of 1 or 2 books per year. So it's a lot of creativity now because we have the students, master and PhD in quantum science lately, and we have to develop fast. And it was so much creativity coming through. But now I see a question in the chat about thoughts on the future of consciousness and the body via developments in AI. So, it's kind of like, I remember there was somebody asking, I think Gandhi, what do you think about civilization? And he said, I think it would be a great idea, or something like that. So now also somebody is asking about artificial intelligence. I mean, I would suggest that we need to kind of develop our own intelligence and see what we have, So there's so much, I mean, we are, even the phone, is more intelligent than us nowadays. So are we really, so there's so much waiting there for us to discover. We wrote this book, The Quantum Brain. It's already published, and it really gives tons of explanations and practices about the quantum brain. But then the next one will be about the awakening of intelligence. So Amit, you want to say something else about artificial intelligence?
Well, I think artificial intelligence is very good news for us, because that suggests that the extent of what we can do with our mind, with just intellect alone, rational mind, that emphasis is over. Computers can do it better than us. What the ChatGPT and other similar programs have proven is that computers can write better essays, better summary of everything, make better plans. Everything that is based on the known, computers can do it better. Having known that, now we can go ahead and reject scientific materialism as a valid scientific theory and move on to accept the archetypes, accept truth, beauty, justice, abundance, power, wholeness, love, and goodness, these archetypes in our life. And that will make a huge change in both our own happiness and social peace, world peace. I think we really need it very, very much. And to help that, we continue to write. Awakening of Intelligence is one, but there will be another one on quantum leadership pretty soon. And
love, a relationship. Remember the quantum
yes, a major.
We're just waiting. By the way, we have this book, the Integrative Medicine. We have it published in Brazil, so we have it in Portuguese. We don't have it in French, so we are waiting for somebody to translate it in French. I'm sure it will be a hit.
Yeah, the love and relationship is another very, very important contribution. I think we are very proud of what is happening in that book.
That's wonderful. Wow, there's so much going on for both of you. And I'm excited to see your work continue to develop and grow. A big thank you to both of you for being with us today.
Thank you, Ross, for having us.
Thank you so much. To everybody.
Thanks for joining us for Branches of Wisdom, a podcast of Banyan Books and Sound, Canada's spiritual and healing resource since 1970. Our podcast producer is Jacob Steele. The show is edited by Abdo Habani. Watch all our conversations on YouTube by searching for Banyan Books, or listen on your favorite podcast platform. Please subscribe, follow, like, and leave your reviews and comments. We love to hear from you. For all our live events, books, and more, visit us at banyan.com.